Hello, everyone, and welcome to Season 2 of Rising Stories podcast. I'm Corine Sandifer, your host. As a business and life coach working with local business owners, I started this podcast to help empower some of my clients, to let them hear from other business owners and hear their tips, their stories, and their keys to success. But you don't have to be a business owner or author to enjoy this podcast because we talk about everything from books, life struggles, favorite apps, and so much more. I know that you're going to enjoy these stories, and I hope that it will empower you to rise to success in your own story. This week, I'm venturing off of our Nashville series to bring you an interview with Polly Connor. Polly has co-written a cookbook called From Freezer to Table. It's 75 simple recipes you can make and freeze. I absolutely love this book. In this episode, Polly and I chat about what we can and cannot freeze, her State of the Union meetings and what that means to her, and why they decided not to do a book tour with this book release. So much information, and Polly is a great businesswoman, so you don't want to miss a single second of this interview. But before we begin, I want to tell you that today's podcast is brought to you by Audible. If you have listened to me long enough, you know I love books and I love audiobooks because I just throw one in and put it on my phone, put it on in my car, and I'm listening in between meetings. I'm learning something. Either it's a book about helping self-help, leadership skills, or it's a novel. So I'm really enjoying my Audible, and I am currently listening to Pitch Perfect by Bill McGowan. This book will teach you how to network effectively and how to give an awesome speech. I cannot tell you enough about this book. I've been talking about it on my social media outlets because it is such a good book. I mean, it tells you what to say, how to say it, what to look for to see if your audience is being bored by you, and what to do about it. And it tells you everything about speaking from A to Z. I mean, it's everything from PowerPoint presentations all the way down to how to give a good toast at a wedding. Plus, the folks at Audible will give you this download for free with your 30-day free trial. Just click on the link below or in the show notes at CorineSandifer.com for your free Audible trial. You can also go to www.audibletrial.com/rising stories. This helps keep the podcast going, so if you can click on any links that you are thinking about purchasing, please consider purchasing books and products mentioned on the show with the links provided in the show notes. It just helps keep Rising Stories going. And now here is my conversation with Polly. Hi, Polly.
Hi, Corine.
Welcome to Rising Stories. I'm so glad you're on here.
Thanks for having me.
We're missing your partner, Rachel. She is out of the country.
Yes. Don't feel too sorry for her. She's been in the Dominican Republic at a family wedding. So she's on her way home today. Nice. So couldn't make the interview. But
so that was
she sends her love.
a nice getaway for... Did she take her kids with her, or is it just her and her husband?
She did not. Oh. So she even called me yesterday. She's like, I've had the first free day I've had in years.
Wow.
To do whatever I want. So she has 3 kids as well. So being away with all adults is a vacation.
That is nice. Having adult conversations. Yeah, that's great.
Yep.
And you guys are busy. Y'all are busy moms and busy businesswomen because you have a Thriving Home blog, which has taken off, and from that stemmed your new book called From Freezer to Table.
Yes. So we, like you said, Thriving Home was kind of our baby. We started that about 6 years ago. And then this September, we just released our first cookbook. So that has been about 2 years in the making, to be honest. So it's been an exciting season for us.
Yeah, cookbooks are not as easy to write in a book form as people imagine. I think it seems to me that it's doubly hard because you're writing recipes and then
Right.
On top of that, you guys are writing recipes, making up recipes, and also it has to go from freezer to, from freezer to table,
right.
or from preparation to freezer, and then freezer to table.
All of our recipes had to be tested from fresh and from frozen because we wanted them to be good and doable from both those angles. So yes, we had to double test every recipe, and it was a tedious process. It's not like you can just sit down and crank a cookbook out. No. You have to
and it's just
give time to test all of these.
Meticulous. And tell me what was the one thing that flopped that we were like, okay, this is that you guys were like, nope, this does not transfer to freezer to table.
My gosh. Oh man. Okay. So we both had the thorns in our side recipe that didn't end up in the book. Mine was jerk chicken.
Yeah.
So I had this ambitious of having jerk chicken because I've done quite a bit of mission work in Jamaica. And so I was like, I'm going to contact some of my friends down there. They're going to give me an authentic recipe. I'm going to make it work for this cookbook. I was so excited. Oh my gosh. And so they sent me their quote recipe, and it was just a list of ingredients, not even measurements of the ingredients. They were just like, habanero pepper, chicken, chili sauce, it's just like, what? That's just how they make it. They just do it by intuition down there. And so I tried that multiple times and just could not get it to work. So I gave up on the jerk chicken. Rachel was in a wrestling match with the pulled pork. She made it at least. Yeah, she wanted, we're really picky and have high standards on our recipes. And so we wanted one that had a kind of a thick sauce, and just couldn't quite get that right. So it was a bourbon pulled pork. And she gave up on that after about 5 or 6 trials.
And that's surprising because I would think both of those would be easily transferable to freezer to table. You would think.
Right. So, it did not all go smoothly. We'll say that. I'd say most of our recipes that we tried, we always went back around and said, okay, let's try a little more of this, a little less of this, or we almost tweaked every recipe we started with. So it is a lot of trial and error.
Yeah. And I have a question about that. So here's my dilemma is I end up cooking. I love to cook, and I cook for my family. Like the other day I made this chicken pozole soup. And I don't know if you know what that is. It's got...
I don't even know what that is.
Y'all should try it. I'll give you my recipe. But I've yet to freeze it. So maybe we can try that out. But I made a big batch. And for whatever reason, families are busy. And it was, as we're recording right now, it's getting ready to be the holidays. And so we didn't eat it. So I ate a bowl of it, because it was there, and but then we didn't eat it, and I thought I need to stick this in the freezer, but it stayed in my refrigerator probably way too long, and I just ended up tossing it.
Oh, so
when
sad.
Can you? So how many days? What's the buffer? How many days could I have put it from the refrigerator to the freezer? That's what I want to know.
From refrigerator to freezer. So I will say most of our meals are you prepare and then freeze before you cook or bake it. That way it's fresh from a freezer meal. But there are soups and a couple recipes that you do prepare and then
that
freeze.
Are all done.
I think it's a general 5-day-ish rule. Depends on the type of food, it's I think fish goes bad quicker than beef. And, so you'd have to look on the FDA website to really.
Yeah. It had no dairy. I just need to look that up because it didn't have dairy. It has, it's kind of a green chili chicken. It kind of resembles a green chili chicken with hominy.
So you give it about a 5-day shelf life. So, if you had it in your fridge for 4 days and you freeze it, thaw it out and only give it 1 day, after that. So just think of it as that good. All that kind of bacteria has about 5 days to cook until it's not safe anymore.
Yeah. That's good to know.
That helps.
Yeah, that does. Yeah, that's good to know. Yeah. So I want to know, you have a partner, Rachel, and how did you guys come together to do this? Did y'all just, find each other online?
We get asked that question a lot. So it's kind of a funny story. I say officially met each other because I took Rachel's job at the church we work at. So Rachel is a couple years older than me, and so she started having kids and was going to step down to stay home with her kids. And I was just graduating college at that point, and so again, we knew each other because we crossed paths at our church. Our church is the Crossing in Columbia, and it's pretty big. But we definitely knew of each other. But I'd say we really started to connect as I took over her job in student ministry. So got to know each other through that, and then over the next couple of years, we both had our own personal blogs. Just more of as a hobby. Mine was a little more DIY, crafty, repurposing stuff, and hers was really food focused. Her son, at a very young age, was diagnosed with Crohn's disease, and so she really dove into learning about what goes into our food and the food industry. And so she had a blog on that, and so we both kind of connected over the blogging world a little bit and started guest posting for each other. And we both are just kind of entrepreneurial minded too. And so we would just chat on the phone about our blogs, and we both don't quite know the moment that was thrown out of like, we should do one together. But at some point it was tossed out, hey, what if we join forces? Like you got this kind of crafty DIY home side and I have this food side. And what if we joined forces and created just like a blog that covered all of this? And so Thriving Home was born in 2011, and we've just been learning and growing and working as partners ever since.
Yeah. So, I love that. I love that y'all joined forces, because you can do more and cover more ground. And there's all, being a solopreneur myself, I know that when I'm sick, that no one's running the company.
Yeah, there are
lots of steering wheel.
Yeah, there are lots of pros and cons to having a partnership. And definitely one of the pros is that, especially in the mom life, there's just seasons where you're just all hands on deck at home, and you got sick kids, and you got kids who need extra attention, or you can't work because you have these appointments. And so we definitely have covered each other through tough seasons as we've walked through them, and just lots of, we've always tried to keep things 50-50 in our business. And so, but we also give a lot of grace and know that, like, okay, this is a busy season for you, but mine's coming up, so.
Yes. Yeah. So y'all can help each other out.
Yes, absolutely.
Do you find that, that y'all do you think, wow, we just lucked out because we get along so well? Or was it we've really worked hard at getting along?
I think it's a little bit of both. We always say I would not go into a business partnership lightly. I think it's easy to have this big fun idea with a friend, but you have to realize we jokingly refer to our partnership as like a second marriage, because it's like you really are committing to work with this person on a regular basis, make big decisions with this person, and a lot of trust. For example, Rachel handles all of our financials, and I have to trust that she's doing that, with integrity. And I do a lot of the back end stuff of our internet. She has to trust that I'm doing my research and doing my job well, and the back end stuff of our blog. Not the internet, but so there just takes a lot of trust, and then a lot of good communication. I would say a couple years into our partnership, there were just some things that were kind of building up relationally that we weren't communicating well about. And so one thing that we started doing a couple years ago, we call them our State of the Union meetings. And so about twice a year, we come together and we have kind of a list of questions we go through. And we just, it's questions like, what's on your plate right now? And are you able to handle that? And how are you feeling about Thriving Home in general? How are you feeling about our partnership? And so it kind of just gives us space to communicate anything that needs to be hashed out or needs to change. One a good example is, I'd say about a year ago, Rachel had a lot of deadline stuff on her plate. She was doing our weekly emails, and she was doing our weekly menu plans. So a lot of these kind of time sensitive things. And I was kind of working on other projects that weren't so time sensitive. So she was feeling a lot of stress on getting these things done. And so that gave us space to say that, hey, I've just got a little too much on my plate. It's stressing me out. And so we renegotiated who's doing what, and I took over the weekly email, and so it just gives that space to just keep the line of communication open. One thing we really try to do is keep short accounts. So if an email comes off in a wrong way, we'll quickly address it, or if one person's kind of feeling like they're doing more than the other, we'll talk about it and talk it out and figure out if that's true or not, so there's just a lot of again, it's just like a healthy functioning relationship. You have to communicate and you have to say I'm sorry a lot, and you have to forgive a lot, and really trust the person. So I don't go into a partnership lightly, is what we always say.
That is so true. And as a business coach, I have been called in more times than I want to admit, but just a lot, just with partnerships, you just never know. You're basically going into something that you're, like you said, it's one of the biggest decisions you'll make, and you're trusting that other person to do what you believe is the right thing to do for the business, and that's not always the case. And then there's personalities, and I like what you said. Just communication is key, and not being afraid to say, hey, I'm feeling a little slighted here. I'm feeling like I'm carrying the bigger load. I'm overwhelmed, and this is why. And those words right there just kind of opens up so many conversations to get to a point where everyone feels better about it all.
Absolutely. Yep. Yeah. We always say, when you're going to a business partnership with someone, you're getting all of their strengths, but all of their weaknesses as well. And you have to realize that you're going to have to deal with that person's, everyone has their strengths and weaknesses. And so you just have to know, and it's hard to know what they are going into it, because you really don't know each other all that well as far as working together. So yeah, it's just, again, just giving a lot of grace, and just, one of our mottos is keep our friendship first, and our relationship first. And so, and it's hard when money starts getting involved, so we really try to put the person first over the business. So, that's a lot of things we've learned the hard way over time, but seems to have worked so far.
Yeah, it sounds like it's going well. And you've got your first book. And how long did it take to write that book?
I'd say the very beginning steps of talking to our first publisher was about 2 years ago. So Thriving Home started getting more and more popular, especially with freezer cooking recipes. We started getting a lot of traffic from Google and from Pinterest on all of our freezer meals. And so publishers start to notice that. They notice if you have a following in a certain niche area. And so we had a small publisher reach out to us, ask us if we were interested in running a cookbook. And that was the first time we were like, I don't know. We kind of got this blog thing going on. Not sure if we have time for this, but it just kind of planted that seed. And then we ended up connecting with another blogger friend of ours who had recently published a cookbook, and she's like, hey, get in touch with the literary agent, which we didn't even know these people existed out there. I'm sure you know what they are, but she's like, talk to this literary agent. She's awesome. And see if she likes the idea. And so we got in touch with her, and she just loved it. And she's like, I think there's not a great cookbook out there for freezer cooking. I think you guys have a niche that people would want. And so those conversations started. Took 6 months to write our proposal. You write like a 60-page proposal explaining your idea of the cookbook and your reach, and give sample chapters and sample recipes. And it's a deal. And then they take that proposal to the publishers, and the publishers either show interest or they don't. And luckily we had 4 that were interested in it. And so we were kind of in a best case scenario that they were bidding for us rather than us trying to convince them.
I love that. That's awesome.
I know. It was such a learning curve and such a fun, exciting season. But we ended up going with Rodale. They are a publisher. And so, then, writing the cookbook actually took probably about a year. And then, traditional publishing it just takes a lot of time. So they have to send it off to be printed, and then they have to, stock the stores. And so anyway, long story short, our cookbook From Freezer to Table released in stores in September. So we are just in a fun, exciting season.
That's wonderful. And are you doing any kind of taking it to Barnes & Noble? Are you doing any signing or any type of events for it?
Yeah. We've done, I'd say most of our stuff has been local. I just did a signing at Barnes & Noble yesterday, actually. They had an event there, went there, and we have a thing coming up in Columbia next weekend. So, there's a lot since it's the holiday season. A lot of stores want us to come in for that. Yeah, we had a big launch party here locally as well. We didn't go national. We asked our publisher about a national tour, and it is interesting. They kind of said, kind of for where we're at, we're not like celebrity names, so it's not like we're going to pull a crowd in New York City. Yes, so they just kind of say, it's actually worth your time more to do guest posts and podcasts and do things. You'll reach more people with your limited time that way than doing book signings in different cities if you're not Pioneer Woman, or you're not.
Right. And I bet even she can just go, look, I'm not going to do that many. I'm staying home.
I know. We both have 3 kids in tow, so it's a deal to get out of town for sure. But we've done some speaking at MOPS events and different groups around town, and even in St. Louis and Kansas City. So we like doing the speaking stuff. It comes at a cost, and it takes a lot of time. It takes a lot of time that we don't have much of.
What do your readers, when they meet you, what do they come up and say to you? Do they bring out a recipe and say, I love your whatever recipe?
Yeah. I think that's one of the most fun things that's happened that, I think it got real when we started seeing pictures on social media of people with our book. We're like, whoa, this isn't just words anymore. This is like in people's homes. And it got me really nervous. I hope they like the recipes, So I love it when, like at Barnes & Noble the other day, I just had a mom stop by and she was like, I just want to thank you for your book. I have 4 kids and it's just changed the way I cook. It's given me the tools to put dinner on the table. And, I love this certain recipe. Like I love here. These recipes that I developed in my own kitchen are now in other people's homes. So I'd say most of the moms who are dabbling in freezer cooking for the first time are like, whoa, this is a game changer. And so that's kind of what we hear from people is like, oh my gosh, I had no idea how easy this was and how much it would change the pace of our evening to not have to do a lot of cooking. So that's the feedback we're mainly getting. But we also love seeing the pictures on social media when people actually make a recipe and send it to us or post about it. It's really fun to see.
Yeah, because really, it comes down to, the name of your blog, which is Thriving Home. You want your home to thrive. You want to be able to have it, when I think about thriving, I think about just functioning, continuing to function. Right. And when you can get something that's simple and easy to pull out of your freezer and feed your family, that just, a lot of times, and I keep telling my husband this, it's like sometimes he'll call. The best thing he can do is call and go, how's your day or whatever. And I'll tell him it's been crazy. And he'll be like, you know what, let me just pick up some Chinese. And it's like, thank you, because there's just so much time that's involved in cooking. And then you've got the cleaning, and so if you can eliminate even just a fourth of that time, that's time that you can spend with your family.
Yeah. And I want to add this, our heart behind the book isn't a full freezer. It is to give parents the tools to free themselves up in the evening, to be relationally available, to not be stressed out over cooking and cleaning and, all that. So our heart is really to get families around the table, to free parents up relationally. And, especially in my stage, I have a toddler and a preschooler. So that time of the day is like not our strong suit. It's like 5 o'clock. Yeah. It's horrible. So, when I don't have to be like babysitting something sauteing like on the oven, I can be babysitting my kid. I can be hands-on with my kids rather than focusing on the meal. So, again, our heart is more of just to get families together, to equip people to have meals around the table and to just make that happen in homes more.
Yeah, I love that. So what has been the best business advice with, being in a partnership, and then you've got two busy families because y'all each have three kids, married, have kids, and, you're running them here and there. What is a great the best business advice for you guys that y'all have incorporated that you are like, this was a game changer in our business?
Yeah. I'm trying to think. I think one of the best pieces of business advice, I don't even know who we got it from, probably just seen it across the board, is really just simplify. So, in the business of blogging, you can just go so many directions. You can focus on, do we do more video? Do we focus more on our email list? Do we focus on digital products? Do we focus on more recipes? Do we, okay, now we have this book in the picture. Do we work on promoting that more? It's just so many directions you can go, and you can only be good at so much, And so I think two things. One, comparison is the thief of joy. And so
comparison,
no matter how, comparison is the thief of joy. And so we will feel like we're killing it, in the blogging world. And then we'll hop on a bigger blog and be like, whoa, how do they have so many Instagram followers? Or like, oh, how do they do those videos? Those are awesome. So it's easy to be like, oh, ours just aren't that good. Or you just feel like you're just not doing things as good as other people. So one, we have to just kind of run our own race and stay focused on what we're good at, stay focused on what we can do well, and do those things well. And so it's, that happens at our State of the Union meetings. We're like, what do we need to cut? What's the fluff on the side? That's the time suckers that we need to kind of eliminate so we can focus on creating good content for our readers, and and that's kind of our heart in getting this book into more homes. I feel like those are kind of our pillars right now. It's just like, keep our blog healthy and quote thriving, and then also getting this book into more people's homes so it can help parents and families. So I say, don't compare and really fight to keep things simple, because I just feel like there's just so much information out there on how to grow social media following, or do this with your email list, or there's just so much you can do, and it's always the new shiny thing that you want to do.
It's
and
overwhelming.
Then you find, oh, it totally is. So it is a fight, and it's a battle to keep the main things, but that's really kind of what we have to keep coming back to.
Love that. So what is your favorite app?
Oh gosh.
And it doesn't have to be
my favorite app, like on my phone.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'll say on my phone, I'm looking at my phone right now. I'm like, I think, Instagram. I feel like that's just the happiest social media. I feel like the other ones I like scroll through and I'm like, oh, I didn't want to see that, or that makes me sad. Or, so I'd say on my phone, I'm an Instagram gal. We're trying really hard to grow our Instagram following. We got a little bit of a late start in that because I was resistant to it at first. I'm like, I can't handle another social media. But now I'm like, now it's my favorite social media.
It's my favorite.
So the way
too.
Rachel, I do Instagram. Rachel's a little more Facebook queen. And I kind of divide and conquer there because you can't do both very well. So I'd say that. On my computer, as far as like, I guess you call it an app, a kind of a business app that we use, we really like Tailwind. Have you heard of that before?
No.
It's kind of it's automated pinning, basically. It schedules out your pins. So for our blog, we are really recipe focused. Like we create our stuff to be easily pinned. We try to do images that are
for
pretty
Pinterest.
on Pinterest. Yes. And so it's annoying if you pin your same recipe 10 times in a row. So Tailwind really schedules out your pins like one a day, post that recipe once a day or something. So that's something we regularly use.
Well, tell me what your 3 favorite things that you're just like, they're like changing your world. It could be anything from like mascara to to a book or whatever. Some 3 things, 3 of your favorite things.
Okay, let's see. 3 things. Right, I'm thinking like presently we're in Christmas season. I'm not sure when this episode will air, but one tradition that my family has is starting after Thanksgiving, I wrap up about 25 to 30 Christmas books. And then the kids open one each night. and it's the same 25 every year. So it's not like I go out and get 25 new books. But they only get to read it once a year. So it's really exciting for them when they open a book and they're, seeing the book they haven't seen in a year. And so that's a really fun tradition we're doing right now, and that they all look forward to each night. So I'd say our little Christmas book tradition is one of my favorite things presently. This is cliche, but my freezer club. So I haven't explained this yet. I have a group of 6 gals, including me, that once a month we get together and swap freezer meals. So each of us is assigned like one recipe, and we multiply that by 6. And then we get together and swap them all. So we come home with 6 different recipes. And so we actually teach in our cookbook how to run a freezer club and kind of, how to
that's good to know. Yeah, that you know how to do that. Yeah.
Right. So you can do freezer parties where you all cook together, or you can just do the freezer club where you just meet and swap. So I think I have enough freezer meals in my freezer right now where I am not going to have to cook in December, and it's amazing. Wow. So I'm stocked up right now, which is because Rachel and I are also recipe testing. So I have a bunch I need to test from her as well. So right now freezer cooking is my jam because I'm not having to do much here in December when it's really busy.
Do you have big freezer? Do you have a big freezer?
We do, yeah. So way back a couple years ago, we did a campaign with Frigidaire, and part of it was they gave us gigantic, like, deep freezers.
Nice.
So I'm very thankful for that. But it's like taller. I mean, it's huge. It's bigger than my fridge.
Upright or like
it's like it's not a deep chest one. It's like a stand up big door. It looks like a massive refrigerator basically.
But it's all freezer. That's cool.
Yeah. Yep. So, I'd say my freezer club is one of my favorite things. The third one. Okay. I'm just going to go with, I have these rings on right now, and they're my favorite because I lost them for about 6 months and I just found them. My husband got these, for Christmas last year. They're, I think, Lisa Leonard designs, and they basically have my kids' names on each one. Again, another great gift idea. So they're this little silver rings that have each of my kids' names. And I'm just so thankful to have them back because I thought I lost them, and my husband worked really hard to get them, my ring size and everything. So they're called Lisa Leonard designs if people want to know what they are.
I have a quick question too about that freezer club. So is there one dish that people say, Paula, you've got to bring that again next time? Because that was delicious. What is that recipe? Yeah.
Gosh, that's a good question. We have a couple home run recipes that I think we keep coming back to. I think one is our killer carnitas. Again, it's a cookbook recipe, but happy to share it. And it's basically, it's a pork Mexican taco. And so it makes a ton. It's slow cooker, so it's super easy. And it's my go-to big group meal. So my husband works in college ministry, and so we have a lot of college guys over all the time. I'm like, what the heck do I feed 10 college guys? They will eat everything we have.
Yes, they're going to eat out of everything. Man, that's a lot.
The carnitas. Yeah, so because they put them in wraps, you can put toppings on them, they can customize them. And so I'd say the carnitas are a home run recipe for sure. Another one is our meatball subs. So again, really easy to make in a mass quantity, and easy to, you freeze them before you bake them. So that way they bake up fresh. And so we make them, and you send along the cheese and the bread with it. And so you make it in the marinara. So you make a nice sub sandwich. So that's a favorite. I'd say those are
sounds delicious.
Two that come to mind. Yeah, they look great.
Yeah. Well, thanks so much, Polly, for coming on. This has been so much fun getting to know you and hearing about all of your best business practices. I love the State of the Union meetings. That is just a game changer, I think, for any partnership or any business. I'm going to start having them by myself. I need.
Good.
I need a couple of those at the end of the year. So thanks so much. This has been great.
It was fun. Thanks for having me.
Wasn't Polly fabulous? I loved her business mind and talking about the State of the Union meetings. What a great tip for getting things done, getting your mind organized, getting focused on what you are doing with your business or in your writing. I just enjoyed talking with Polly, and I hope you did too. I will link Polly's information and how to order her book in the description notes below. Again, today's show was sponsored by Audible and my Amazon store, and music is by Ben Sound at bensound.com. Please consider supporting Rising Stories podcast by purchasing books and products mentioned on the show with the links provided in the show notes. Next week, we will be back in Nashville, Tennessee. So thanks for listening and keep rising in your story.